Everybody, welcome. Now, before we get into the video, I have a plea for help. Now, as you know, we're doing our HEA training. We've almost got our accreditation for highway electrical work. The problem that we found is that the company who was, basically what happens is you have to do lots and lots of little exams, and then once you've done all of those, you have to have an external company who is already doing highway electrical work to basically audit you, okay? That's the most simplest cut down version I can give you, okay? The company which we found to do it, unfortunately, is backed out because they're unable to do it because they haven't got the correct credentials through the Highway Electrical Register. If you know somebody who is able to audit us and give us our accreditation, we would really appreciate it. So if you can ask, if you know of anybody in your circles, please get them to get in touch with us, and because we need an external company to audit us, essentially. So if you know of anybody, please get in touch. It's Highway Electrical Register. Everybody, welcome back to this beautiful channel and thank you for tuning back in. We appreciate it. Now today we are working in, it's an open office block. It's all been stripped out and gutted, and of all the furniture and all their possessions and stuff. It's all empty, and what we've got to do is change all of the light fittings. All of the old fluorescent fittings, they're all these ones over here. Now, in my haste, when we were looking at this job, what I failed to realise, it's a really funny ceiling. Let me get a ladder and I'll show you. Right, this is the false ceiling. And I mean, it is a false ceiling, but it's a shit false ceiling. It's not a very good false ceiling, because it doesn't work like a traditional false ceiling where you would have a ceiling tile and you would push it up to take it out. This is the reverse. You have to push it up to click it into the ceiling. And the problem is they don't manufacture fittings that go into the ceiling. Well, they do, but you pay literally an arm, a leg, and possibly part of your kidney for it. And if you want spares for this ceiling, it's just not happening. You can get it, but they don't do it individually. Like if you go back to this company and say, can I just have one of these slatted fittings? They'll say, okay, you need to buy 300, or a pallet, which is about 300 fittings. I know that because I was looking online trying to find spares for this ceiling, and they just don't make it in small quantities anymore. These were 30 quid each, somewhere around there. And of course, these are designed to go into a false ceiling. You just drop it into a normal ceiling grid. Now, of course, here we can't do that. So you can see the problem developing here. And this ceiling, like you touch it and like edges fall out. I mean, that's what's happened up there. You start moving the ceiling, and other ones, it's a bit of an unsettling ceiling. Like you start touching it and they fall out. It's just it's not a nice design. So what we've done, in fact, here's one we made earlier. So basically, we have some metal profiles, and what we're going to do, we've got some self-tappers. So I've managed to find some self-tappers with a white head on them. This one was a prototype, so this is not the finished result. But basically, the light fitting will drop into the ceiling. You'll have these metal strips on the outer edge. We'll self-tap those into the ceiling, and that's the end result. And it's the only way that I can think of doing it. Trying to find these fittings is a faff. So this is a stack of them, which we are just doing now. Basically, we're just using a maintenance-free D box like that. This is actually the existing cable, which came off the old fittings. We just cut it just so we don't have to keep re-terminating these. But those are basically like an old click connector, like the new click connectors, the push in and slide ones. That's basically just an old-fashioned one, a plug-in one, and then that's got a threaded end, and you basically just plug it in, and that screws on. So it's just an old-fashioned click connector. And you just grab a chair, and you just sit here and connect them all up. These ones weren't too bad. I think these were £31, I think 28 or 31, I can't remember off the top of my head, 28 or 31 quid each. But they had a 3-year warranty, which I didn't think was too bad because they were quite budget conscientious on this. And all the cheaper ones that I was looking at all had 12 months or 2 years, and there's something doesn't sit right with me. These ones I wanted 5, but these ones had a 3-year warranty, so I thought that's pretty good. For 20, I think like 28, 30 quid, it's not bad. Right, change of plan. It is, just to show you, it is actually, to give you a gauge of the size of the building, it's that lower ground floor there we're working in, that one there. But I've got to go to GOBOB. You'll remember him in some of the previous content. He's out in Greenford. I've got to do a dash from here to go out and see him first because a job's just come up out there I've got to go and give him a hand with. So I'm going to go do that. Then we're going to come back later on and we'll finish that off.
6.5 hours later.
Do you remember a couple of months back, or it may have been longer, I can't remember, I was looking at one of these units here and they were 60 grand a year, these units. Actually, it was maybe a year ago we spoke about this, and I was looking at these. This is the same estate that GOBOB is at. All of these are empty now. It's amazing the effect COVID has had, where everyone has they've done that. Every single one, all empty. 60 grand a year. Maybe they're cheaper now, I don't know. Can you imagine how much money is being lost by these just sitting empty now? It's amazing. I mean, they're nice, they're clean, but I think ours is bigger, you know? Today I'm being paid to use my truck to shoot birds. I'd like to point out I'm not actually the one doing the shooting. I'm just supplying the vehicle that is giving the person the ability to shoot said birds. I know I said this truck was going to have varied mixed use, but this is very varied and very mixed use. I've literally come down out of the bucket because I'm not witnessing this. I'm controlling it from down here, and he is currently dispatching a lot of birds. I'd like to point out, all right, I'm the driver. I am paid. What he does, it's up to him. I knew I'd get paid for doing various works with this. I didn't think this was going to be one of them, I'll be honest. Right, now the pest control has been dealt with. What we've got to do, the reason for us actually being here, is we've got to fit some sort of rotary isolator with a 3-phase, with a 3-pin, it's actually a 5-pin plug, I think it is, for these steamers. So these steamers, if you're running them like hybrid, so diesel electric, I think it's like 300 watts or something. If you run them on full electric, say 30 kilowatts. So we've got to run from the fuse board over there, courtesy of moi. We've got to run a bit of armoured cable or something, or probably actually, I don't know, it doesn't actually have to be B-arm, I don't know. Arm is probably the easiest to wire it in because you can get the most amount of selection, but down here to a pod somewhere here. In fact, we've got the pod here that I remember seeing it back in the day. Ah, what, the blue one? Oh no, the red one, yeah, that red one. So one of those basically. There is one of these lying around here which is brand new, we didn't need it, so we're going to use that over there. So that's going to be coming up in a couple of weeks, if that. So keep an eye out for that. And with that, we're going to go back now to that job you saw earlier, because I've actually got to go back there and give James a hand putting the lights in the ceiling. To be fair, they've come out all right, actually. I put all these, I put all these in. It's a good laugh working at this company, if anything. Yeah, so put all these in, very nice, looking good. Right, we are going to carry on putting the rest of them in down there. I must admit, I'm quite impressed. What do you think of these Noxian? I've never heard of them, but...
Top feels a bit shit quality, but the actual lights...
Just say it the way it is on camera. Trying to find ones which have got a 5-year warranty gets a bit more... It's not to get hard as you can, it's just the cost goes up. And they were very budget conscious on this job. This is the one I told you a couple of videos back. I'm not making a loss on it, we're breaking even, but it's just, yeah, you do it for the goodwill, you know? That's a callous lie, actually, we need it for something else. That was the other thing. The drivers on these, this is how we do it, just lay them out. This is how James is doing it, laying them out. But the drivers, there's no external driver. You know how normally you get an LED panel and you click in, you either click in, they have the click connectors and you click in, or the more common type where you just wire it in, but you have an external, like that, you'd have an external driver. Driver apparently is built into them, which is great because you literally just click and off you go. But it's all right until the driver fails. But I mean, chances are it'll be the panel that fails before the driver, I'd have thought. Generally, it's the panel rather than the driver that fails, which is probably why they've integrated it. But it's quite a clean finish. You don't have any clutter outside the panel.
Day 2.
Right, everybody, this is day 2 of working down in this store for this office for this charity. Signage is on the vans. We did that a couple of days ago, but I don't think you've seen that yet. I'm properly pleased with it. I think it looks, it's exactly the way I wanted it. Just that and Thomas Nagy, no phone numbers, web addresses, nothing, just nice and clean and simple. So I'm quite chuffed with that. One of the comments, somebody was asking, why are both the traffics, why have I put chevrons, or Battenberg as it's called, on the back of those vans? What was the need for it? It's because they will be used as support vehicles for this when it's out on the road. For this reason here, we did our first little foray into highway work yesterday. We did our first ever little job. And this was all of the signage we legally have to display when you're out on the road. So you keep left signs, men at work, road narrow signs. There's 12 of them in here, and that was the minimum to do it safely, legally, and all our cones and everything. But you can see how much room that takes up in the back of the truck, which is why generally when you see highways trucks and stuff, they either have the big 5.5 ton Ivecos with no racking in, just so they can keep tons of signage, or they have 3.5 tons, the smaller vans like this, and they have a support vehicle. So that's what the traffics will be doing. They'll just be carrying cones and signage. But to be fair, that's what we're going to do for the minute, but there's actually we're looking at traffic management vehicles, you know, the low loader ones. That's what I'm looking at now. That's the next thing I want to get. But that's the reason why, if anybody's wondering, it's just because the signs and stuff take up so much room, you can't work. So that's why. Although, to be fair, when you pull up, that's actually the first sign you take out and put on the road, you keep right. So once you put all this out, it actually frees up the inside of the van for you to work. But you know what I'm getting at. So that's the reason why. Anyway, on other work, I've got to go down to Selco now to pick up some more of these metal brackets for the lights down there because we've run out. So let me do that and we're back in a sec. We are back in this little charity, this office for this charity which we're working for. Now, one problem we've come across is the LED panels which we're fitting, these ones here, right? I was showing you that we're saying that drivers for these are integrated and stuff. And these panels, right, go into these old-fashioned click connectors. Now, there's no permanent live on those, and the emergency lighting here, it's a funny system. They've got a central battery bank out in the main office, and they've got a metal conduit which runs in with a 12-volt DC supply going to these clicks. Now, other Sparks in the past obviously have been here and they've realised they don't want to connect into that, so they've run in. Someone at some point's come in and they've upgraded. These are quite old, but they're still the new style click connectors, yeah? So those are the old ones, and they've introduced a permanent live on the switched side of the lights. That actually works for us really well, because what we're going to do, we're going to take our D boxes like this, and we're just going to put in a separate emergency light instead. That's the way we're going to do it. These are just little 40mm bezel, and no, sorry, it's 38mm cutout. I think it's like a 45mm bezel or something, and you just have a replaceable battery pack that just sits above the ceiling. And these are little 3 watts, 290 lumens, so they're quite bright. So we're going to put, the plan is we'll put 2 up here, 2 in the middle, 2 down at the end. So that's, yeah, 3, 6, 9, 12, 50, it's like 1,500 lumens. So it's plenty of light if the power ever fails. So we're going to go and pop these in now, and we'll be back in a bit. Right, I've had to down tools there and leave. James is doing a bit of fault finding over in Hampstead, and I think he's absolutely pulling his hair out. So he's just hit the panic button for me to go and give him a hand. So I've just left Joe in there doing that. So we're about to go to Hampstead now, and I'll update you with more details as soon as I get there. Basically, my understanding is there's a fault on an RCD on a lighting circuit, and it just keeps tripping the RCD. If you put it on an MCB, it doesn't trip, but if you put it on an RCD, it trips out straight away. So that'd be a neutral to earth fault. So he started fault finding there yesterday, I don't know, yesterday afternoon, and it's now midday the following day, and he's hit the panic button because I think he's got to the point he just needs another new set of eyes on it. So I've just pulled the truck out because I can't take the truck there because there's just nowhere to park. So let me pull this one out and I'll update you when we get there. Okay, we have a neutral to earth fault on a lighting circuit. Everything here is in pipe. So this fitting up here, it's all conduit boxes that were recessed into the ceiling. So that light fitting over there, it's all conduit, the whole lot. But it's unusual that you would get a fault on this. It's unusual. If I had to take a guess, it's either a wiring issue at the ceiling rows, which they've all been taken down and everything's disconnected, but there's definitely a neutral to earth fault. But it's unusual you get it in pipe. Normally it's in T&E where they've plastered and they've caught it, or there's a wiring issue behind, behind a light switch or something. But everything is done in pipe, so it's unusual unless the fault is the cable. When they ran it in from day one, they've snagged the cable and the neutral is just touching the inside of the pipe, and that's giving you the fault. Because I can disconnect the neutral. In fact, I'll show you. I can disconnect the neutral now downstairs and the lights still work. I'll show you. Yeah, so at the moment, this is the board that we put in. As it stands, I can disconnect the neutral to that lighting circuit and the light still works. So it's getting its neutral path through the earth. As soon as you put it on the RCD, it trips. So let us do a bit of digging because I think this is going to be a bit of a pig to get to the bottom of. Let me do some digging and we'll get back to you in a sec. Right, several hours later, the upstairs is fine. It's something down here. Now, this is the thing with the ICRs. You do an EICR, unless you do 100% inspection, you take every single switch, every single socket off. There's just stuff you don't see. I mean, we've taken this light fitting down in the bathroom. You've got this clusterfuck behind the ceiling. And it's something to do with this because these here are all the lives. Those are our neutrals. But I know when you connect those neutrals together, it trips. But it's something, all of upstairs is fine now. But one of these is actually, well, it was live. We were just doing a bit of testing. So we've got a feed here, so it's something, either the fan's not wired right or the switch, something isn't quite right. But yeah, we've narrowed it down this far, but it is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm starting to get a bit fuzzy now, so I'll see how much longer. I might have to come back in the morning, but let me keep going and I'll keep you posted. Right, we are currently putting all these lights back. So yeah, my hunch at the beginning was right. I mean, it's possible it could have been a fault within the conduit somewhere, but that would have been like if someone has nicked the cable when they've been installing it into the pipe and it was just touching on the inside. If the cable's running through the pipe, it's just that snag is just touching the side of the pipe. It's possible, not to say it can't be done, but it is unusual. But as it happens, my gut feeling was right, it's in the bottom bathroom, because that's all been done in twin and earth, which would suggest someone's done that after this original install. So let me try and connect this all back up, and all being well, if I've still got time, I'll see you down in the bathroom. If not, we'll have to do it another day. My enthusiasm in coming through it is because it is unspeakably hot in this room. The customer's got the radiators on full, like she's literally cooking herself to death. You're sat there with your beer and your peanuts, looking, smiling, I can feel it. Right, later on down the range, I actually don't know 100%, well actually I do, it's that light fitting. I just stripped all of it completely, found my permanent feed, which was a 3-core here, so we found that. Reconnected the fan, tried it was fine, reconnected the light, it was fine, reconnected this light, it trips, and sod's law. That was what, the one light we didn't disconnect on the EICR? Yeah. As I say, unless you do like 100% inspection, it's just, but yeah, it looks like this light is you got a Phillips there, mate. This light's the culprit. These fittings are shit though, fair play. Yeah, my guess is the same as yours, James. It's probably where the cable enters the fitting and it's snagged on the metal casing, would be my guess. Because this thing, you can't do insulation testing. There's no isolator point for the fan, so you can't isolate the fan. So when you test, it just tells you there's a dead short. Because it's got a permanent live, neutral, switch live. And try doing that whole touch live and neutral together and then test to earth, but the amount of times I've done it, it doesn't work. Right, if you turn that back on, that will probably, oh, okay, so it's not the cable, it is that fitting. But I don't see what though, unless it's where it terminates in here or something in one of these, it must be. Take the lamps out. I mean, I'll measure it a second. 2 minutes, we'll be back.
Eventually.
Right, so it does transpire, it was that fitting, so I'm going to replace it for the sake of it. You probably could take it apart, but for the sake of it, it's just not worth it. I'll just chuck it out on the North Circular on the way home. Right, so I'm now going to go back to that job Joe's at now. I'm just going to go and have a look there, see if I can give him a hand before it's time to go home. So I'll see you back over there in a sec. Right, everybody, now by the time we got back here to our unit in Wembley, Joe had already left. He'd gone home because it's gone 6 o'clock now. So he's already left, James has already left, Sarah's left. In fact, it's just me and the camera guy on our own here. So what I thought I'd do is just show you a little bit of what happens after work. So like everyone's gone now and the unit is now empty. So this is an order which came in today. This is all fuse box. This is all RCBOs that I've ordered up. So there's just a box full of RCBOs and stuff. And all I'm doing is just sorting them and then I'll scan them in. So this is all the shit that happens behind the scenes, like after everyone's gone, but everything still has to be replenished and kept up to date. So yeah, this is it. All these all get scanned in, fuse boards and stuff. And then there's other things like ballast packs and stuff. So on the other side where the kitchen is, we've got an area where we drop stuff. In fact, I'll show you. We actually haven't labeled it yet, but this is where if they've booked stuff out on the scanner, this was actually just sat here. So anything that's on this table has got to be booked back into the warehouse. So yeah, it's just stuff like that. And then things like, there were 2 downlights that they took, but for some reason the safety covers on the back of them are missing, so they've got to go back to the manufacturer. But it's just stuff like that. Once everyone's gone, I've got a bit of peace and quiet and downtime, I can just get on with this sort of stuff. So yeah, that is pretty much all we've got time for, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to carry on booking all of this back onto the racks, and I will leave you in peace. Thank you very much for watching. It really is appreciated, and all the links come up now if you want to watch anything else. Otherwise, I will see you in a few days' time.